Hello, I'm Charles Coves, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show, episode 115. In this week's episode, I explore our amazing tendency to avoid doing hard things. I explore aspects of the big lie that our society keeps sharing with us. The good life is the easy life. I show you why that is such a big lie. If you avoid hard, your life will become harder. But if you embrace hard, seemingly magically, your life will become easier. This episode will help you not to be seduced by the big lie, not to be seduced by the idea of a life of ease and comfort. You would be so bored and uninspired in such a situation that you would find yourself creating mischief in so many ways. Stick around and enjoy the vitamins for your soul, for your spirit in this episode that will give you the ability to embrace hard. Our format these days for the Charles Coves Show is firstly to explore the unique content in the big idea. Then I share with you the 6 resources to help you implement the big idea in your life. Then I review key happenings in the week, around the world, in Australia, in my life. And then after the unique content, then you can hear about the foundational principles of this show and more background about me if you want to know those. So let's go with the big idea. Our Western culture relentlessly feeds us a big lie. It says the easy life is the good life. It says that if life is hard, if doing things is hard, then you are doing something wrong. Then you're not doing it the right way because it's meant to be easy. Society says, here, take this drug. You're in pain, take this drug. It says, buy this tool, buy this resource, buy this kitchen appliance. It says, read this book, all your problems will be over. It says, take this shortcut. Take these performance-enhancing drugs so that you can win the competition. It says, come and do this course. Doing this course will solve all your problems and bang, all your problems are over and life will be easy. Upgrade your computer. It'll make your life so much easier. Well, it certainly would for Julie if she upgraded her computer. I say that we only learn and grow when we are willing to do the hard things that we are meant to be doing, consistent with pursuing our passion. You will not be learning and growing if you take the easy way. And we're certainly facing hard times now in 2022. In so many ways we're facing hard times. And there are some serious existential threats to the life and the lifestyle that you thought you could live based on the lives of your parents. The life that you've been living so far if you're over 20 years of age. Our governments are lying to us. And now because of alternative media, we're finding out how much governments are lying to us. Governments are taking away our freedoms. Governments are imposing all sorts of new rules and regulations. Governments are overspending like crazy. The debts of most governments are disgraceful. And politicians keep promising you more. Where do you think they're getting the money? They're getting the money from you. And when they get that money from you, from the average taxpayer, they give it to the chosen ones, to the elites, to those who are friends with the government, with the politicians. That's called corruption. Then we have the climate warriors who want to get rid of gas, coal, anything that produces a greenhouse gas. I say that's a big lie. I'm an expert in the question of sustainable living, And I say we will destroy most of humanity if we go down this mad track of getting to zero net carbon. I put it out there fair and square. I'm happy to have a debate with any of you. It's a lie that there is a climate is causing an existential threat. That's a big lie. And just imagine what's going to happen. As you can see, energy prices going up. Who's going to be able to afford the energy prices, no matter how high they are? The elites, of course, the 5% wealthiest people. They don't care. I urge each of us to take an interest in this question of the climate warriors, I won't even say the name of that young person who just goes out there and talks nonsense, and that the nonsense that islands are disappearing under the ocean, blah, blah, blah. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. Do your own research on this. As you know, 20 years ago, the climate was warming, the earth's boiling. Now it's climate change. And look how cold it is in Australia. Look how cold it is in places around the world. And if you look at the latest IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, it's had to admit in tiny little print and no big splash about it that global temperatures have not gone up. That was released in the last 2 weeks. You are being sold a pup. And if you just accept what government tells you, that's the easy way. Remember, accepting what government says is easy. Just do what government says. Your life will become very hard. Question everything that a leader, that a politician particularly says to you. Your freedoms are under great threat. And the politicians and the elites are saying, we're doing this to protect you. I say BS. If you and I don't do the hard job of standing up against this grab for power, this grab for control, this grab under the Great Reset for one world government, this grab for making your life difficult by saying that there's a climate threat, if we don't stand up and do the hard things, life will become very hard. Your life will become dramatically worse unless you're in the 5% wealthiest. Do the hard things. And magically, your life will become easier. Not because you're doing the hard things, but because how you feel about yourself. You will be standing up for what you believe. You will be passionately pursuing what you want to passionately pursue. And if that means you have to stand up against government, well, do it. If that means that you have to take extra steps, well, do it. If that means you have to work 70 hours a week like I do, well, do it. Fight for your principles. Fight for your passion. Taking the easy road is not going to make you happy. That's my prediction for you. The evidence is overwhelming. So let me give you some resources that will help you embrace this idea of being willing to do the hard things that you know you should be doing. Is where your soul, where your spirit says to you, I should be doing this. What is that? You need to learn to listen to that message from inside you. My song this week is from the Beatles. And this song has two meanings to it, in my view. And you can use this as a resource to give you that second meaning. It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. Although when I think about it, dogs don't seem to work all that hard, do they? Anyway, I've been working like a dog, all right? It's been a hard day's night. I should be sleeping like a log. But when I get home to you, I find the things that you do will make me feel all right. You know, I work all day to get you money to buy you things, resources, and it's worth it just to hear you say you're going to give me everything. So why on earth should I moan? Because when I get you alone, you know I feel okay. When I get you alone, the metaphor is when you work hard and then you come back into your soul, into your spirit, and you touch base back in with who you are. will make you feel all right. So when you hear this song, let it remind you of saying, am I doing the joyful hard work related to my principles, my passion? My book for you this week is by Ray Dalio, one of the world's great fund managers. Ray Dalio, D-A-L-I-O. It's called Principles. Principles. It's a magnificent book where Ray goes through his life and explores the principles that helped him to become who he was from very humble beginnings. My quote for you is by former US President JFK, who was assassinated on 22 November 1963. As I've said before on earlier episodes of the show, I don't expect you to remember it, but I had to go and deliver a second set of newspapers that day because that assassination was such a shock that the newspapers were, a second edition was printed, and then the newsagent called me up and said, you have to go and deliver these again, which I did, of course. So clear in my memory. JFK said this: we choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Just embrace that idea. Think about people who choose to compete at the Olympics. Are they choosing to compete at the Olympics because they're easy or because they're hard? There is no achievement in taking the easy road. And if your life has no achievement in it, you will be depressed. You will have this gnawing inside of you. You might not be depressed, but you'll go, something's missing. Like that song, something's missing in my life. When you do hard, there's nothing missing in your life because you're living life on your terms. My health tip for you is to think about this episode and review your health habits and say to yourself, when have you taken the easy road on your health and how has it made your life harder? And do the corollary. When have you done the hard things for your health and how has that made your life easy? Just to prove that what I'm saying is true. And then I want you to, as my spiritual tip, is to meditate on how this principle has applied in your life to date. How have you done hard things that then made your life easier? But more importantly, how have you chosen to avoid doing hard things and how did that make your life harder? That's a spiritual exercise of meditating, reviewing your life journey. Don't just keep doing what you've always done, because if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. Meditate on this. Go deep in your soul. Tell the truth to yourself. And then at a spiritual level, find one of your friends and discuss this principle with them and share with them. Hey, I avoided doing these hard things and this is how it made life harder. And one of those that springs to mind immediately, of course, is divorce. How often in matrimonial matters do people not get divorced early enough because they avoid doing the hard things? Or how many times did people stay in a marriage that was unhappy and avoided doing the hard things by speaking up, by challenging the problem, and that made their lives harder? So that's the health tip, a spiritual tip. And a time for a spot of humor, you see, because if you're going to be thinking about your life and doing hard things, like the hard things I do, of having coffee, now I come to think of it, that's an easy thing. This easy thing of drinking coffee makes my life easier. So there you are. It's not black and white in every case. But of course, the easy thing is to have coffee with the caffeine. And then if I did the hard thing, how would it make my life easier? The hard thing of avoiding coffee. I'll contemplate that. So if you then start looking at doing hard things, that means changing your occupation. I thought I would share some clever occupational descriptions with you. This will help you decide whether you want to leave what you're doing now and change your occupation. So what's an accountant? An accountant is someone who knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. An auditor is someone who arrives after the battle and bayonets all the wounded. A banker. Now, this is a relevant definition with what's happening with bankers these days. A banker is a fellow who lends you his umbrella when the sun is shining and wants it back the minute it begins to rain. It's a famous Mark Twain definition. An economist. My son Tim is an economist. An economist is an expert who will know tomorrow why the things he predicted yesterday didn't happen today. A lawyer is a person who writes a 10,000-word document and calls it a brief. A professor is someone who talks in someone else's sleep. I just remember those days at university when the professors would be talking and there'd be plenty of heads on the table sleeping. The professor is someone who talks in someone else's sleep. A school teacher is a disillusioned woman who used to think she liked children. A friend is the definition of a person of the opposite sex who has that je ne sais quoi, which eliminates any desire to ever try and sleep with them. A pessimist is an optimist with experience. A priest, someone addressed by everyone as father except his children who call him uncle. That's a bit naughty, isn't it? Love, a 4-letter word, 2 vowels, 2 consonants, 2 idiots. Do you remember being madly in love? Madly in love. Do you remember those days? And besotted, I'm in love, I'm in love. Nice definition. Dancing, the vertical frustration of a horizontal desire. I wonder what aliens, when they come to this world, think when they see us dancing cheek to cheek. Monogamy, repressed polygamy. Nanosecond, a fraction of time which occurs between the lights turning green and the car behind you blowing its horn. Teamwork. Politicians are very good at this, teamwork. Teamwork, the possibility of putting the blame on others. Hardware, this is very relevant for my darling wife, Julie. Hardware is the part of the computer that you kick when the software malfunctions. So, there are some occupational definitions and some definitions of life experience. And the last one, inflation. Having to pay next year's prices on last year's salary. So I hope that gave you a chuckle while you're thinking about whether or not you're going to do the hard things that you need to do. So think about those hard things. Think about how today's big idea can make a difference to your life. A life that I believe is meant to become all that you're capable of making it. My aim for this show is to provoke you, to inspire you, to motivate you, to educate you, to examine your life now and to keep doing so for the rest of your life, to keep raising your self-awareness about who you are and who you want to become. I invite you to press the bell on this, if you're watching on YouTube, to subscribe to the podcast, to share this show with your family, with your friends, with your work colleagues. I invite you to discover more about the Self-Awareness and Passion Quest, an executive coaching program at charlescovess.com. Visit covess.com for lots and lots of other resources. You can access my first 2 books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, at both of those websites. Now, let's review the past week, the key happenings in the life of the world and in my life. Number 1, today is the 29th anniversary of the birth of Covess International, of my move from the legal profession to being Australasia's passion provocateur. 29 years. On the 25th of June, 1993 is when I made the fateful decision. On Friday of last week, the US Supreme Court handed down its decision in the Dobbs case, which was rejecting the principles of Roe versus Wade on abortion. And I say to you that around the world, including in Australia, there are places where you can get an abortion at full term, at 9 months, at 38, 39 weeks. And most people that I share this with say that's not possible. Yes, it is. It's happening. And I say to you that any abortion after 20 weeks is murder. Now, this Dobbs case is crucially important. You think about why would people call abortion when you've got a 35-week-old baby in your tummy that's kicking and going on, and you abort that and you call that abortion? No, that's murder. And there will be a lot of noise made by people about this issue. Just examine your own principles on this and go, do you think it's murder? Do you think it's okay at 25 weeks, 30 weeks, 39 weeks to abort a living human being? I say no. I say it's murder, and I'm going to call it as it is because language drives behavior, and that's what it means to do hard things. Speak your truth. If you don't speak your truth, then the liars will take over. Second big issue, the World Swimming Championships are being held in Budapest. And it's been a joy I've been to Budapest many times. Regular viewers and listeners know that I have Hungarian origins. I speak fluent Hungarian. Seeing the pictures of this beautiful city on TV are wonderful every night. The water polo will be on. It's been swimming in the first week, but all the other aquatic sports will be on in the second week. And the point about world swimming championships, world championships of any description, is the incredibly small differences between winning, coming second, coming third, and then missing out on a medal entirely. I just watched the 50-meter backstroke swim, where the difference between first and eighth was 6/10 of a second. In other words, 1 second is 6/10 of a second is 8 swimmers came in 6/10 of a second. Look at those tiny, tiny differences between success, between winning and not winning. Okay, and that's what life is about. And every single competitor who qualified for the World Swimming Championships, run by FINA, F-I-N-A, Federation of International Natation, it's a French word, Aquatic Associations. FINA is putting these on. Every single competitor at these World Championships has been willing to do incredibly hard things just to be able to compete. Be inspired by the psychology behind that willingness to do the hard work. Thirdly, the Victorian government, the worst government this state has ever had, in my view. 4 ministers have announced that they're not going to stand for re-election. I say they're deserting a sinking ship. I say the debt of the Victorian government, of Australian governments of around the world, is going to lead to incredible hardship. And indeed, all sorts of rates and taxes will go up because these politicians spend money like it's going out of fashion. They keep taxing the average citizen more and more, and they go off into the sunset. No harm caused to them. Already the new Federal Treasurer for Australia has said it's going to be a tough budget. Of course, because the governments waste money on medical choices, on imposition of hardship, and then you have to pay for it. Be aware. Watch this sleight of hand. Interest rates is the next thing that's happening. They're going up. And of course, that's going to mean many people will lose their homes. So inflation's going up, interest rates go up. Are the bankers losing anything? No, the bankers, they're the ones who are bailed out by government using your money. So those bankers behave badly and they get rescued. Are you being rescued? And then government locks us down and says, oh, we're rescuing you. Here's some money. Whose money is it? Your money. Get out of the way, government. During the week, I've also been running a number of groups. Julie and I run a group on Friday nights called FOAM, F-O-A-M, Fighters Opposing Autocratic Maniacs. If you want weekly additional injections of vitamins and minerals for your soul, for your spirit, for your mind, please send us an email and we'll add you to the invitation list. It goes for 1 hour. It's a wonderful opportunity to be rejuvenated for the fight to do hard things. Friday nights, Melbourne time, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then I've been moderating various groups, online, Zoom, global meetings, dealing with the real issues that will impact on your freedom, on your health, on the fight for truth, on the fight for justice. And in the meantime, while I'm doing all of this, working 70, 75 hours a week, I continue my exercise. Why? So that I can do that work. The more work you need to do, the more important it is to be physically well and to drink the coffee. Keeping me in good shape. Woohoo! So, if you're new to the show, stick around for the last part where we explore the foundational principles of this show and some more background about me if you haven't heard that before. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing this show with those you love, with those you care about. And until our next show, may your week be full of health-giving and energy-giving passion, of learning, of fun, of fulfillment, and ever-increasing self-awareness. Bye for now. See you next week. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show. Here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, As chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Covess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the colour of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@covess.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.